Okay, folks. So this is actually something I warned about in a social media post back in February. Today, the Trump administration halted an offshore wind project off the coast of Rhode Island operated by Orsted. And this was an over 700 megawatt offshore wind project that was roughly 75% complete. This thing had been approved in 2023, and Orsted has spent well over $1 billion so far on this project. And I'm going to read from this announcement here from the Department of the Interior. They issued an order requiring the company to halt all ongoing activities on the project to address concerns that have arisen during a review of the project. They said the company may not resume activities until the Bureau of Ocean Management informs you that they have completed the necessary review. Now, here is the thing, okay? This is the Revolution Wind project. And I actually warned that they would shut down this project, specifically this project. And by the way, this is going to provide power to homes in Rhode Island and Connecticut. By the way, their electricity prices are going nuts. This would produce enough electricity for roughly 350,000 homes in that area. It's roughly 20 miles offshore, right? So it's not like by the shoreline or nothing. It's nothing like that. It was going to be operational here in about 6 months. It was going to be up and running at a time, like I said, when people in these states are experiencing just crippling energy bills. Why? Energy capacity. They need more energy, period. And this follows, back in April, the Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, he halted a project by Equinor. But here's the thing. The reason I warned about this particular project is because it's owned by Orsted. And you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, Orsted is from Denmark. Orsted is from Denmark. And Denmark controls what? Greenland. That's right. Greenland. And much like with the immigration, compare this to immigration. We were told they were only going to round up and deport the criminals. They weren't going to deport people who were here legally, who had work permits, all of that stuff. Remember those lies? Well, they're also lying when it comes to wind energy, because they're telling us they're not going to stop any wind projects that have already been approved. They're not going to stop any wind projects or solar projects that have been approved or have started. None of that. Right? Well, here we have a wind project, 70% complete, 1,200 full-time jobs once it's complete. The number of jobs it's creating right now are temporary, but once it's complete, there will be 1,200 full-time jobs. I like to use the full-time permanent jobs number. But 70% complete, over $1 billion invested. Nixed. For no reason. They're worried about eagles. That's what they'll say. Oh, well, we're worried about the eagle. We have to protect the eagle. they're not concerned about, it's crazy to me that they use these type of excuses. They're certainly not concerned about the eagle when it comes to oil spills. They're not concerned about eagles flying over oil and gas operations that produce hydrogen sulfide gas that lingers up into the air and eliminates the birds that fly over. We had, when I was with Big Oil, we had a field of H2S gas that we produced wells. And the gas would vent out of the production tanks. Just, not a lot. Just a very small amount. But it was so deadly that anything that flew over the locations would fall out of the sky dead. Poisonous gas. We had a group of 3 guys. It was their job to go out there and suit up in personal protective gear and equipment, breathing apparatuses, to pick up the dead animals. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is just to highlight the ridiculousness of this eagle excuse when it comes to this wind farm. And I highly suspect this has something to do with Greenland. It's not a stretch by any... Look, it's not. It's not a stretch at all. I'm not sure what the move is, but back in February, I warned, February and March, when they started going after wind projects, I told people, I said, anything that Orsted is involved with is subject to be a target in the future because they're a company out of Denmark. And here we are. So is this going to be a pay for play? Is this going to be, what are you going to pay Donald Trump? It would not surprise me in the least bit. Is that the Trump toll? The Trump tax to operate a wind farm? Is to, pay the boss? Does he got to get, his cut? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? And, the crazy thing is this thing is 70% done, and he's been in office now for, what are we in, an eighth month in office? If he was going to kill this project, and he knew he was going to kill it, he should have done it immediately. How much money is this company going to lose? That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's killing it. They're saying they're killing it. They're not. They're going to come out. Some time's going to go by. They're going to come out and they're going to say, we did some study. The project is back on. No, they're not doing a study. This is another way for Donald Trump to grift. This is another way for Donald Trump to skim off the top. That is 10,000% what this is. Because that's who Donald Trump is. He's a mob boss in the White House. Wow. I'm dead serious. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I really appreciate all my new followers and subscribers. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks.